Taiwan Straits 2026 is one of the biggest pressure points to watch in Q3. But let me say this first. This video is not about predicting war. If you came here looking for scary music, red arrows, exploding maps, and someone shouting, "It begins next Tuesday," wrong channel. That is not. That is panic content wearing ancient clothing. 气门遁甲 is not used to frighten people. It is used to read position. Who has the better ground? Who is under pressure? Who has room to move? Who is being forced to respond? Who can wait? Who is running out of options? That is strategy. Because in any conflict, the loudest person is not always winning. Sometimes the person who says the least is the one controlling the room. So today, we are not asking, will there be war? That question is too crude. It is like looking at a kitchen and asking, will the house burn down? Better question, who is holding the fire? Who is controlling the stove? Who is standing too close? Who forgot to open the window? That is how you read pressure. And the Taiwan Straits right now is not just a military issue. It is pressure, it is timing, it is signaling, it is chess. And if you only watch the biggest piece on the board, you may miss the move that actually matters. Maka Pak, the Taiwan Straits are already tense. Taiwan's Coast Guard recently said it expelled Chinese government ships from restricted waters. Taiwan also held coastal drills simulating how it would destroy an invading force. And Taiwan fired HIMARS rockets from its west coast in exercises facing China. So this is not imaginary pressure. The pressure is already there. The real question for Q3 is not whether pressure exists. The question is whether the pressure becomes control or whether someone misreads the pressure and makes a bad move. Because many problems in history do not begin with one person saying, "Let's create disaster." They begin when one side tests, the other side reacts. Then the first side reacts to the reaction. Then everybody starts defending face. And suddenly a small fire becomes a kitchen nobody can enter. Humans are very gifted at turning tension into paperwork and smoke. In Chiman, advantage does not always mean attack. This is very important. Many people think if one side has advantage, that side must strike. No, that is childish. Advantage can mean you can wait. Advantage can mean you can pressure without crossing the line. Advantage can mean you make the other side spend energy. Advantage can mean you force the other side to explain itself again and again. Advantage can mean you control the rhythm. Think of a cat sitting near a mouse hole. The cat does not need to jump immediately. The mouse already cannot sleep. That is pressure. That is position. That is advantage. Now think of the Taiwan Straits like a narrow bridge. On one side you have China, big size, big pressure, big military, big political message. On the other side you have Taiwan, smaller size but strong terrain, strong defensive position, high global attention, important technology role, and many outside eyes watching. So if you read this like a simple boxing match, you miss the game. This is not just big guy versus small guy. This is more like one person trying to squeeze the bridge while the other person tries to make every step across the bridge expensive. And outside the bridge, many people are watching with phones, cameras, contracts, supply chains, and nervous investors. Very modern, very messy, very human. China's advantage is pressure. China can keep the issue alive. It can send ships. It can send aircraft. It can run exercises. It can create uncertainty. It can make Taiwan spend attention, money, manpower, and emotional energy. This is like making someone hold a heavy bag for a long time. You do not need to punch them. Eventually, the arm gets tired. That is pressure strategy. But pressure has a cost. The more China applies pressure, the more attention it attracts. And in a fire horse year, attention moves fast. Fire horse is hot, visible, quick, reactive. So a move meant to show strength can also create resistance. This is the danger of too much fire. A small flame cooks. Too much fire brings smoke. And once there is smoke, everyone starts looking. Dampian. Taiwan's advantage is cost. Taiwan does not need to be bigger. It needs to make the cost too high. Think of a small shop. The shop is not as big as the shopping mall, but it has strong locks, bright cameras, neighbors watching, a dog that looks unfriendly. Suddenly, entering that shop becomes troublesome. That is Taiwan's position. Its strategy is not to match China ship for ship or plane for plane. Its strategy is to make any move expensive, visible, and politically difficult. That is why drills matter, readiness matters, technology matters, alliances matter, messaging matters. These are not just military actions, they are signals. They say the door is not open. Now, where do outside players come in? The United States, Japan, the Philippines, and other regional players do not need to stand in the middle of the strait every day to affect the board. Sometimes the person outside the room changes what happens inside the room. A simple example: imagine two children arguing over a toy. If no adult is watching, one child may grab it. But once the teacher stands nearby, suddenly both children become very polite. Same children, different environment. That is outside influence. Statements matter. Defense ties matter. Joint exercises matter. Technology supply chains matter. Trade pressure matters. Diplomatic visits matter because each one changes the calculation. Not always loudly, but clearly. This is why the Taiwan Straits is not only a local issue. It is connected to chips, AI, supply chains, trade, shipping, military alliances, regional trust, global markets. So when pressure rises there, business owners and investors should not watch it like distant news. Watch it like timing risk, not fear, risk. Big difference. Fear makes you freeze. Risk makes you prepare. If your business depends on Taiwan, China, chips, shipping, technology, regional trade, or investor confidence, this pressure matters. You do not need to panic, but you do need to watch. The person who panics loses energy. The person who watches calmly gains information. Amita. Now in Q3, the important thing to watch is not just big military action. Watch rhythm. Who moves first? Who responds? Who controls the news cycle? Who creates the next headline? Who forces the other side to explain? Who is spending resources? Who looks calm? Who looks pressured? That is where the real reading is. In Chi-Men, you don't only look at who has the sword, you look at where the person is standing. If a man has a sword but stands in mud, he has a problem. If another man has no sword but stands on high ground with a clear exit route, he may still survive. Position matters. Timing matters. Exit matters. Information matters. The biggest weapon is not always the winning weapon. Sometimes the winning weapon is patience. Very boring, very powerful. Number Q3 is more likely to be about testing, signaling, and pressure than one simple final move. Why? Because when the cost of direct action is high, smart players test first. They send ships, they run drills, they test response time, they use Coast Guard movement, they use legal language, they use official statements, they check who reacts, they check who is tired, they check who is distracted. It is like someone tapping a fence before deciding whether to climb it. Not because he is weak, because he is measuring the fence. That is how strategic pressure works. And this is where most people misunderstand advantage. They think advantage means the side that can attack. No, in Q3, the side with advantage may be the side that does not need to attack, the side that can wait, the side that can keep options open, the side that can make the other side move first, the side that can create pressure without losing control. That is a much cleaner form of advantage. Think of chess. The strongest move is not always taking a piece. Sometimes the strongest move is forcing the other player to move where you want. You did not take anything yet, but the board is already yours. That is strategy. Hello. So, what should we watch? Coast Guard activity. Coast Guard pressure is important because it sits in a gray area. Not full war, not normal peace. It is like someone standing with one foot inside your gate and saying, I'm not entering. Very annoying, very strategic. Watch air activity. Aircraft movement, test response. Watch drills. Show capability, but they also send a message. Watch official language. In this pressure game, words are not just words. Words are moves. If the language becomes sharper, the room becomes hotter. Watch markets. Do not like uncertainty. Supply chains do not like uncertainty. And technology companies definitely do not like waking up to a geopolitical headache before breakfast. Kamyang, now, how does Firehorse affect this? Firehorse is fast, hot, visible. It makes things move quickly. It makes people react quickly. It makes pride and image more important. That is the danger. In a Firehorse year, people can mistake speed for strength. They can mistake heat for courage. They can mistake loud action for good timing. But aggression and acceleration are not the same. A good driver can go fast and still steer. A bad driver presses the pedal and calls it bravery. Same speed, different skill. So in Q3, the danger is not only aggression, the danger is misreading. One side sends a signal, the other side reads it as escalation. One side tests a boundary, the other side responds too strongly. One small move becomes a big story. Then everybody must respond to the story. That is how pressure becomes dangerous. Chiman teaches one very practical idea. Do not let pressure choose your timing. If pressure chooses your timing, you are no longer leading. You are reacting. And when you react, the other side controls you. React, the other side controls you. This applies to countries, it applies to companies, it applies to relationships, it applies to business partnerships. Think of a client negotiation. If the client pushes you and you immediately panic and lower your price, who controls the room? The client. If your competitor launches something and you immediately rush out a messy offer, who controls your timing? The competitor. If one bad comment online makes you record a 20-minute angry reply, who controls your day? A stranger with Wi-Fi. Tragic, but common. The same pattern applies in geopolitics. If one side can make the other side respond emotionally, it has influence. If one side can keep calm while the other side spends energy, it has position. If one side can create pressure and still keep options open, it has timing. That is why Q3 must be watched carefully, not with fear, with structure. Who is calm? Who is forced? Who is setting the rhythm? Who is losing room? Who has choices? Who has to act because not acting looks weak? That last one is dangerous. When leaders act because they are afraid of looking weak, mistakes become more likely. Fire horse does not forgive emotional decisions. Now, if you are asking which side has advantage, the answer depends on what advantage. China has pressure advantage. It can keep applying pressure. It can shape the rhythm. It can force Taiwan to spend resources. Taiwan has position and cost advantage. It can make any move highly visible, expensive, and difficult. Outside players have influence advantage. They can shift calculation without always entering directly. So this is not one side simply winning. It is three layers of advantage. Pressure, cost, influence. If you only look at one layer, you miss the game. It is like judging a restaurant only by the size of the kitchen. Important? Yes. But what about the chef, the ingredients, the customers, the rent, the reviews? One factor is not the whole story. Copying. For Q3, my reading is this. Watch for more testing, more signaling, more maritime pressure, more defensive messaging, more attention around exercises and response timing. But do not jump straight to dramatic conclusions. Pressure does not always mean war. Sometimes pressure is negotiation before negotiation. Sometimes pressure is positioning before talks. Sometimes pressure is a way to make the other side pay attention. Sometimes pressure is just someone trying to show strength because the room is watching. The key is whether the pressure is managed. If it is managed, it stays as tension. If it is misread, it can escalate. That is the line to watch. Somehow. What can business owners learn from this? Quite a lot. Because your business has its own Taiwan Straits. That place where pressure keeps building. Maybe it is a partner issue. Maybe it is a cash flow issue. Maybe it is a staff issue. Maybe it is a client who keeps pushing boundaries. Maybe it is a competitor. Maybe it is a family business problem nobody wants to discuss. You keep thinking, it's okay, still manageable. Then one day, one small thing happens and everyone explodes. That is not sudden. That pressure was cooking for months. The final incident was just a match. So the lesson is simple. Do not wait for pressure to become drama. Read the position early. Who has leverage? Who has options? Who is reacting? Who is avoiding? Who is carrying too much? Who benefits if nothing changes? That is Chiman thinking in daily life. Not mystical, useful. So, if you want to handle Q3 well in your own life, use 3 questions. First, where is pressure building? Second, who is controlling the timing? Third, what is the clean move that gives me more options? That is it. No need to become complicated. If you can answer these 3 questions, you are already ahead of most people, which is not as difficult as it should be. But let's take the win. So when you watch Taiwan Straits in Q3 2026, don't watch like a frightened spectator. Watch like a strategist. Watch rhythm. Watch pressure. Watch who moves first. Watch who reacts. Watch who still has choices. Because in Chiman, the strongest player is not always the one making the loudest move. Sometimes, the strongest player is the one who makes everyone else move first. Comment one word below. Pressure, position, timing, restraint. Which one do you think matters most in Q3? And if you want more 奇门遁甲, Fire Horse 2026, 八字, Feng Shui, Chinese metaphysics, and practical timing insights, subscribe to Destiny Architect. This is not fear content. This is timing, structure, and